I was almost scammed out of $9,000 through a fake brand deal, and I'm gonna go through all the tea on how this even happened. So, if you're new here, my name is India, and I am a travel creator and influencer here on social media. I've been doing this since 2020, and at the time that this happened was last year, so around April of 2023. And up at that point, I felt like I was a seasoned creator, that I knew what to look for in different brand deals and with negotiating brand deals and working with brands. And I was very well educated on this process and being in this industry for at the time. Being in the industry and working in it, I knew what the process was, but this scam was so intricate and had a lot of different confusing parts that I just didn't see. And luckily, I did not end up losing out on the money, but let's just get into what happened. This all started at the end of 2022. So like I said, I became an influencer in 2020. My main platform was TikTok. At the end of 2022, I had about 100,000 followers on TikTok. I didn't really have that many followers on Instagram, but I had pretty great engagement on both of my platforms. And I was receiving a lot of PR at the time. And for me, PR has really just been a way to try out products and see if I really like them. But essentially, if you are new to the whole content creator process, brands will send you gifted PR with the hopes that you will use that PR in your videos, and people will then, see that you're using it and they will want to buy it for themselves. So anytime I received gifted PR, that means that I have no legal obligations to post about it, and it's just simply a gift from the brand. Anytime I received that PR in the past and now, I would just try the product myself and see if I like it. If I genuinely like it, then I will post about it. But otherwise, I don't really post about, all the PR I received, because at this point, it's a lot of PR. So at the end of 2022, I was receiving a lot of PR, and I was really getting into the content creator space and transitioning into being a full-time creator. So at the time, a brand reached out to me. They were called Lust Perfumes, and they had a perfume they wanted me to try. They said it was a pheromone-based perfume that was like really great if you want to attract a partner and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't really know about the marketing, but I'm going to accept the gifted PR to see if this is something that I like. Now, first of all, I have sensitive skin, so I can't even wear a lot of perfumes because some perfumes will actually irritate my skin. So for that was the reason why I was like, I'm going to try it out. I'm not going to post about it and just see, what it is like if it's any good or not. And again, at the time, my content was about lifestyle and engineering. So I didn't really see a way for the product to really fit into my content other than a get ready with me, which is what I was doing a lot at the time. So I was like, I'm just going to try it out and see what happens. So they sent me the perfume. It smelled pretty good, and I used it, and I didn't have any breakouts or anything. It went pretty well with my skin, and I like the smell of it. I didn't use it all the time, but I did use it occasionally. And sometimes I would talk about it in a get ready with me. So I would, do my makeup or something, and then I would it was like a roller ball. I would roll the perfume on, and that was it. That was the extent of what I talked about for this brand. So typically whenever a brand sends you gifted PR, like I said, they have the hopes that you will then use that PR in your videos, and they can either start an affiliate-based partnership with you or start a brand paid partnership collaboration relationship with you. Once I received the perfume, I never heard anything about the brand after that. One thing I will definitely mention is that when I receive different emails for PR, I do a lot of vetting to make sure that this is a legitimate brand and that it's something that will go well with my audience. Because like I said, I receive a lot of PR and all of it just isn't relevant to me as a creator and my content. So when they emailed me about the PR, they had the typical brand collab signature. So it was the person's name at the bottom, and then it had the brand's website, and then it also had their social media pages. And I clicked on all of those. I went to their website. It was a legitimate website. They had the main product, which was the rollerball perfume. And they also had these little accessories, but it wasn't other perfumes. They only had 1 scent of perfume on their no, I think they had 2 scents of perfume on their profile, on their website that people could buy. And then I went to their Instagram and their TikTok, and on both platforms, I saw that they were active users of the platforms. So they were actively posting on Instagram, they were actively posting on TikTok, and other people, so whether they be content creators or just influencers, I didn't really know, but other people were posting about the product, saying how much they liked it and everything. So it seemed legit. The website seemed legit. The social media seemed legit, right? People were interacting with it. It wasn't a page that had a ton of fake followers or something. I went through their page and it seemed all real. So I was like, okay. And then I received the product too. So I was like, oh, okay, this is just a brand I have not heard about yet. So I received the PR in the end of 2022. In early 2023, I moved from the East Coast to LA. So I moved in March, and it was actually a really awful time for me to move because right after I had literally gotten to my brand new apartment, there was like the first TikTok shutdown scare, and people just really didn't know what was going to go and what was going to happen with TikTok. And again, at the time, TikTok was my main platform. So I was kind of freaking out and trying to figure out how I was going to, make it as a full-time creator, and also how I could, build my other platforms so I didn't rely on one platform. So if you're in that position now, you should definitely have multiple platforms and not just one. But anyway, so during this time though, brands had two different strategies. So there were brands that were like, TikTok seems kind of iffy right now with the shutdown. We don't really know what's going to happen. So we are not going to promote on TikTok anymore, and we are instead going to promote on Instagram. So all of the brand campaigns went from going on TikTok to now Instagram and YouTube. And again, I didn't have a following on Instagram or YouTube, so I wasn't really applicable for those campaigns. And then other brands were like, oh, TikTok's going to shut down potentially, so we're actually going to double down and post twice as much. That way we can build a following on TikTok, and then they will want to transfer and follow us on other platforms, before the app actually shuts down. So there was two different strategies that was going on, and with the brand partnerships that I had coming up, they started shutting down. They were like, no, we're not going to do this. And then there were other brands that were like, we want to hire creators to create content about our brand on TikTok, because at the time, brands had no idea how to promote their products on TikTok. And I was really, really good at selling on TikTok, and I still am. But brands were like, we want to hire creators to create the content for our TikTok pages. So typically when that happens, this was also like the rise of UGC, or user generated content, where if someone didn't have a following on another platform, the brand would then pay that person, so someone like me at the time, to create content, but that content wouldn't be posted on my pages, it would be posted on their page. So brands were either hiring influencers to create UGC ads that would then go on, that brand's Instagram or their website or their email marketing or whatever, or brands were hiring creators to create content for that brand's page. Now, being a content creator for a brand and then being a marketing manager for a brand are two different jobs. And this is what I really go over in my creator course, because it is just so important that you know these things, especially if you're a new creator and you have no idea how this even works. But essentially, a marketing manager is someone who looks at all of the platforms for that brand. So if I'm Stanley, right, and I'm the marketing manager for Stanley, I'm going to go to Stanley's Twitter, their Instagram, their YouTube, their TikTok, and I'm going to make sure their content is going out on all the pages. I'm going to make sure that, we're getting positive feedback on those posts. I'm going to make sure that the branding is consistent across all of those pages. So like if I post a trend on Twitter, it kind of aligns with the trend that's going on TikTok or something. But marketing managers are the people that are in charge of the content that goes out. They don't create the content that goes out. So that's where content creators come in, and they will create the actual videos, right? They are the people that are behind the camera or in front of the camera, and they are the ones that are generating the ideas and coming up with the content and stuff. Or maybe they're not even creating the ideas, maybe they're just coming up with the content. So at the time, brands were like, okay, TikTok's gonna go away potentially. So we're either going to hire creators to create content for us to use on our social media pages on other platforms, or we're just going to hire a creator to create content for us on TikTok. That way, the creators who already know what they're doing and they already know how to market products can just post those videos onto our brand pages and become essentially the face of our brand. And then we're going to pay those creators to create that content. And the marketing manager is going to make sure that all the rest of the social media is aligned with what that creator is posting on our TikTok page. Hopefully this all makes sense. But there were a lot of campaigns at the time that were seeking creators to create content for brands. So for creators to become the face of said brand and post regularly on that brand's page so they could build that brand's page following. So those were a lot of the requests that I was receiving. And because I wasn't getting any brand deals of my own to be posted on my page, because again, everyone's like, oh, TikTok may shut down. I was really doing a lot of those campaigns. I was also doing a lot of UGC campaigns where the content was to be posted on my page, because again, I didn't really have a following anywhere else other than TikTok. So this perfume brand that I previously reached out to me, and they were like, we're going to send you PR, there's no obligation for you to post about it. Just, try it out, see if you liked it. They spun the block, which is very usual, right? That's pretty common for brands to send you PR and then, invite you to an event after, or to invite you to work with them on a collaboration afterwards. Like, that's very common for it to happen. So they reached out to me again. They said, we love that you liked the product. Because again, I talked about the product in videos, and they were like, we want to work with you to hire you as a creator for our brand. So I thought I was being hired to create content for their brand's page, for their TikTok page. So they sent me this request, and they sent me a creator brief, which outlines all of the, requirements and things that you should do as a creator when you're creating content for a brand. And I've gone over this in another video about how brand deals work. But essentially they were like, here's a creator brief. We are going to pay you this monthly rate to create content on a page for our brand on a TikTok page. So I read over the creative brief, and I was like, something about this seems wrong. And the reason why I thought that was because, one, the brand emailed me on the weekend. And typically reputable brands do not email on the weekends unless they are like a small business and the owner of that business is like running it on the side of their full-time job. But typically when you're working with a brand, they work 9 to 5, they work Monday through Friday. So anything outside of that time span is, I would say, less common. You may get an email, on the weekend from someone that you're already working with, but typically it's not like a cold email. Like, it's someone that you already know or you have a relationship or something. So it was just odd that they emailed me on the weekends. Like, I have never signed a big partnership contract on a weekend. So I was like, this is kind of strange. They're sending it to me today. The other thing that really stuck out to me was that they wanted me to create a brand new TikTok page. So not their pre-existing TikTok page where they already had people, and content on that page promoting the product. They wanted me to create a brand new page and for me to grow that page from zero and post on that page monthly. So I would be paid like a monthly rate to post on that page and pretty much build up a following for that page. I did not understand why they wanted me to do this. So I asked. And this is, again, something that I really emphasize in my creator course, because if you have no idea what you should be charging, or, what the terms are in your contract, or how to even like navigate these types of partnerships and negotiations, like a negotiation is so important. And it's something that I am really good at, to be honest. So when I saw that, I was like, I don't really like that. I don't want to create a brand new TikTok profile. Instead, I'd rather just post the content that I create for you guys. You can post it on your own brand pages. And they did not like that. And I was like, this is so strange that they won't allow me to just give them the content and then they post it on, their page. I thought about it for a long time. Like, I sat on this for at least like a week thinking of like, what could be the reason of why they don't want me to just make the content for them and they pay me for it that way, right? So one of the things that is really common with like different creator scams or like brand partnership scams is that, first of all, the initial pitch email, like they will email you to say, hi, India, or hi, BME Queen, which is, my internet name. And then they'll go into, details of like what they like about you or your content, or, how they think that you resonate with the brand. And generally when it's like a scammy email or when it's like an email blast, you can tell because it says like, hi there, creator, or it says like, hey, how are you? As like the entry line. And then the information in the bulk of the paragraph is like, you're such a great creator and you connect with your audience really well. Like, it's not specific about you as a creator, or they'll say like, oh, we just love your lifestyle content. It's so engaging and we love the way you make your videos. It's just very vague and very simple, where a brand that's really following you and really wants to work with you, they know how your content and what you've already posted truly aligns with their brand. So they'll come to you, like a legitimate brand will come to you and will say, we love your travel content, India. You do a lot of great videos for solo travelers, and our brand is coming out with this, and we think it'd be a great, point for you to talk about with solo traveling and yada, 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 right? So that's typically what a legitimate email sounds like. And this one really fit the mold for like a legitimate email. So They knew about me. They knew about my content. They also recognized that they had sent me PR before. So it wasn't like a cold email. It wasn't an email blast. And then when I responded to their email negotiating, they responded to me back with legitimate answers. Like it wasn't, anytime I responded to like a spammy type of email, when I was like, learning the process and learning what this is like behind the scenes. Anytime I've responded to a spammy email, they will completely disregard everything you say and they'll just send you like a blanket statement. If they email me and say, hey there, creator, we want to pay you to post about our train ticket deal or something, right? And then I respond back and say, okay, like, what are the usage terms for this campaign? And they'll respond back like, oh, glad you're interested. We want you to post tomorrow. They don't actually answer my questions. This perfume brand was answering my questions. They were pretty like responsive, and it just seemed legit, except for the fact that they wanted me to create a brand new TikTok page. And I was like, this is so bizarre. I thought about signing the contract for a long time because I was like, well, I kind of need the money because I don't have anything else going for me right now other than TikTok, which is why I always emphasize people that you should be creating and repurposing your content on multiple platforms so that you aren't in a situation where you have to do something like this, right? Where you're like considering doing something because you need the money to pay your bills. Like paying your bills is so real. I get it. But like if you're relying on one source of income, like you are definitely subject to something like this, which is why I always talk about building multiple streams of income. Anywho, I emailed them back and I was like, listen, I'm really not comfortable building my own page because I don't think this aligns with my brand. So again, at the time, travel creator, right? I'm not going to make a brand new page and talk solely about your brand's perfume because it just doesn't make sense with my previous content of travel. Like people know me for travel. They know me for some lifestyle here and there, but they don't know me for perfume. So it just doesn't make sense for me to post and make an entire page about perfume, just about your perfume too, not about any other perfumes, because there was also like an exclusivity clause. So they were like, okay, you don't have to make the page, you just have to create the content and we will, send it to you. Like you send it to us and we'll post it on our page. So I was like, okay, great. It's a UGC deal like I'm used to, right? So then I started to negotiate for my actual rate for UGC. And that was one thing too that I didn't like about creating new profiles, that I didn't know how to like give my own rates. Like I didn't know what rate was acceptable for that type of partnership because people don't usually do that. I gave them my rate for UGC content and they were like, oh, we can't do this. And I was like, okay, so what is your budget? Right. So then they ghosted me and I was like, all right, well, you went through all of this to get me to create content about you. And then now you ghost me. Right. I was like, this is just so bizarre. So I follow up with them and I'm like, hey, are you still interested in this? Thinking that like, maybe I got lost in their emails or something. And they were like, yeah, we're still interested. And they sent me the contract. Now, this was the big red flag to me because their contract wasn't your typical influencer contract. So I'm not going to put like an example of a contract up because I know that people with not good intentions could easily access this video. But basically, the contract didn't have this specific terms of what you would normally see in an influencer contract. So I think the person that was running this scam was familiar with influencer marketing in some regard, but the contracts didn't have the normal like usage clauses. It didn't have the normal like identification clauses. It didn't have any like exclusivity clauses, like anything. It had like, you create content for us, you will pay you this amount. And I was like, this seems kind of weird. So I started to look up this brand. Now, again, the website seemed legit. The social media pages also seemed legit. So I was like, why did I have such a terrible feeling about this? Like, why is this like so weird right now? And I typed in Lust Scam into the TikTok search bar, and all of these videos popped up of people talking about how this brand was scamming influencers and customers everywhere. At that point, I was like, oh my gosh, a relief. I knew I wasn't crazy. And again, this is like all the stuff that I go over and talk about in the creator course, because these are things that you have to know, especially if you don't have a manager, if you don't have a lawyer reviewing your contracts. Like, you have to know these things because people will try to scam you for your clout, like very seriously. Like, that's what it is. What the scam actually was, and this is what I have assumed and, found online and just like figured out kind of for myself. But essentially, the brand sent influencers this perfume. It was a real perfume that they came up with, and they wanted influencers to post about the perfume on their pages to promote their product for free, right? So that was like the gifted PR thing, right? But then I guess people weren't posting enough, or they weren't making enough sales. I don't really know what happened with that, but Some customers in the beginning were actually receiving the product in the mail, like the perfumes they were receiving, and they were also trying it out, and they were also talking about the perfume. But when I heard back from the brand again, when they wanted me to create this brand new profile to create content about this perfume, that was when I started to look at other girls' profiles that they had created. So what they wanted me to say, what they wanted the profile name to be would be like India for Lust, which was the brand name. So they wanted that whole TikTok page to be about the brand. So I would look up like random girls' names. I'll be like Emily for Lust or like Kylie for Lust. And I would look at those girls' pages and see what was happening. And essentially, those girls who didn't know anything about negotiation, who didn't know anything about contracts, who didn't know anything about, like being aware of what is legitimate in the influencer industry, they thought they were getting paid to create these pages and create content about the brand. So because they were constantly creating content about the brand on this brand new page, their followers would buy the perfume, right? Seems reasonable. You are talking about it to your followers constantly. So your followers are going to be like, let me try it out. And they bought it. Now what happened was, and this is where the scam part comes in, the audience members or the customers who ordered the products because their favorite influencer was talking about it, those customers never received the product. They never received it, right? And they would follow up with the brand. They would send emails to like the confirmation email and be like, hey, where's my brand or where's my perfume? Like, and they wouldn't hear anything from the brand. So eventually those customers will reach out to the influencer and be like, hey, I ordered this 3 weeks ago and it never showed up and like no one's ever emailed me back or whatever. So the influencer will reach out to the brand and be like, hey, I'm getting all these comments of people saying that they never actually received the perfume. And the brand will respond and be like, oh, we're working on it. We're working on our shipping. We've had like supply demand issues, yada, yada. But then it would come time for the influencer to get paid for her creating the content on this page, right? Because you were being paid a monthly rate to post on this brand new page. When it came time for those influencers to be paid, the brand would ghost them. And the influencers would try to get paid for their content, whatever, and no one would ever answer. The contract never had like an address or anything on it. So there was no way, like even if you had a lawyer, a content creator lawyer help you with this case, there wasn't any way to track it down or to figure out who was doing this. So essentially the customers and the influencers were being scammed in this perfume scam. Now, luckily, I never actually sent the contract back to the brand. I had signed it on my computer, but I never actually sent it to them because I was like, something about this is off. But ever since then, for one thing, I always have at least access to a lawyer, a content lawyer, an entertainment lawyer, or someone to review contracts. This is before I got management, to really review what is going on and to do my due diligence in figuring out what is legitimate and also how much I should be paid and my rate for this, because there aren't any standardized rates in the influencer industry. I mean, your rates can be based off of your following, but also your engagement, your actual influence over that audience, the profiles or the platforms that you're posting on. There's so many things that go into your own rate. And then also the budget of the brand itself goes into your rate too. And these are all things that I map out and write out and explain to you in my creator course. It is so important that you always have a lawyer on staff and that you have someone that is looking at this stuff so that you aren't solely responsible for it. So that, someone is just reviewing your work essentially before you sign these contracts. But also, this was such an intricate scam. Me as someone who had been in the industry for almost 4 years at that point, it was hard for me to tell that this was a fake website, because I received the product. They went through the process of sending me PR and then of coming back and circling back for a long-term partnership, which is normal. They also had active platforms on Instagram and on TikTok, and it just seemed like everything, all their ducks were in a row. But when it came down to the customer receiving the product, people never received the product. And then also when it came for the influencers to be paid, the influencers were never paid. So I hope you took something away from this video and you learned at least some helpful tips to not get scammed as a creator, especially if you're a new creator, because this can be a very individualistic type of industry to work in. So if you are brand new to this and you have no idea how to negotiate your rates, how to build a following, or even how to manage your different accounts and your different social media platforms, I do have a creator course that's linked in the description. I hope you guys got something from this, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.